political process works, and so then all the nations go, you know what, screw it, we're not going to get along anymore, and so this is where it's brother against brother. It's a very much a sort of a grounded fantasy setting, so it could be a historical setting, except for the fact that yes, the Gorgon is out there, and the Hydra is out there, and all these other super badass monsters versus your puny little dudes are out there that sitting on the edges of civilization, waiting for civilization to break down so they can come back and avenge themselves upon the humans who've totally wiped them out. So it's sort of like, and then there's the barbarians at the gate in the north, and there's the horde reforming in the south, and so the stakes are very high. These houses are going at it like ferociously, and it's sort of, it just sets you up in that place so that you can do a sort of very lo-fi espionage setting, which can be a lot of fun. What are your tools? You don't have laser watches. You have sundials, but there's no laser sundials. I think it would encourage a totally different way of looking at espionage and how things are done. Like, okay, I've got to send a message back to control. I need 2 months. Send the boy, and he starts running. So yeah, that's Cloak and Dagger in a nutshell.
Yeah. So I have two. The first is Godspawn, which I mentioned earlier. The trick there, the thing that I'm really excited about, you're going to be able to adventure in Asgard, or what's left of Asgard, because Asgard's been fairly badly demolished by what happened with the gods upsetting Ragnarok, and what's left of Midgard, because it was also pretty badly demolished. And inside the World Tree, it treats all of those locations as real. It takes all the different characters from Norse myth and makes them not only NPCs but things that you can do, like all the little woodland creatures that were wandering around. There's a little spy character that wanders through the woodland tree, and you can encounter him and use him as a guide. There's all sorts of things like that that are going to be going on in this setting, and but that's just the story end of it. The action end of it is it's going to play from 1 to 20 just like Fantasycraft does, but it's going to change the rules in such a way that it feels like you're playing a god and fighting things that only gods could lose fighting. And so that will be, it's our God of War expansion essentially. The other one is it's new. It's spun off from part of what I was thinking would originally be in Godspawn. Godspawn, by the way, now fairly low-tech setting, as you would expect in a proper Norse epic story to be. The portions of the setting that were originally industrial and that dealt with all of that have moved on to this other untitled setting, and it's basically you've got humans getting to the point where they are starting to monopolize the world's resources, and they're rapidly overtaking everything that all the portions of the world that are still magical, and in those portions of the world you have these creatures. And the creatures have long since been hiding out from humans, and they're the heroes of the setting, because you've got like these treants whose relatives are being cut up in logging camps, and you've got pixies that are being ground up for to keep lights going. It's that sort of setting. It's this bleak end.
Where you can smoke a fairy.
You can smoke a fairy in the setting,
right.
Yeah. They have the fire fairies that they'll shake and throw at things and they blow up. The humans do awful things in this setting, and the poor non-humans. Fairies being a good example. Fairies not in Fantasycraft, but you'll be able to play fairies in this game, and not as a playable race anyway. We have them in the bestiary. Yeah. But yeah, it's sort of the opposite end. What if all of the monsters of the world were suddenly faced with extinction? How would they defend themselves? You, as the carrion crawler, must defend your cavern of young. lest you be ground up for
Move
wax.
slow. Lay down and play dead, and I'll eat you.
Yeah. So that should be a fun setting to put together. We also have Sun Chaser. Sun Chaser. I'll skip forward. Sun Chaser, which is Scott Guerin's traditional fantasy setting. That one's also written. It's probably in its final form. It's good, and we're really looking forward to getting that one out. It's high adventure as you expect high adventure to be. If you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons in all its many forms, this will do exactly what you want it to do.
Yeah, it has a lot of Lord of the Rings in it.
It's a lot of Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Kind of make it stand apart.
And it's got some really interesting ideas with how the setting has evolved over its long history and how those things play in the modern day. It's modern day. And then of course there's the license stuff. I mean, we're hoping that other people do more things, but one of them that we know is out there and lurking and kind of live already is Wormstone,
Yes.
Which is a Revenant Games' fantastic reinvention of Spelljammer, and it's great. You've got all sorts of takes on the races that we never would have come up with. So go to that one. You can find on our site through our links page, or if you want to go direct, it's wormstone.org. Yeah. So they'd love to hear from you guys. So those are the sendings that are currently out. I'm not missing any, am I? No, that's all of them currently. So there was one that we were talking about for a while called Swords of the Zodiac, but that one's unfortunately no longer planned. It's one of those that I would not be surprised if somebody else picked up and ran with, but we're not going to be finishing it in its current form. So. Like I said, I'm not really sure what we'll be looking at in terms of how those will be produced. It's possible, for example, that we could do 2 settings in a book, along with the associate rules. Like say, for instance, if we did Godspawn in this other untitled setting in a book, you'd see the rules chapters cover those things, and that would be enough to make a book. But is it a well-themed book? We're not really sure yet. When we get back to from Gen Con, because FantasyCraft literally just got done before the show, when we get back, we're going to be talking about, well, this is all the material we have for FantasyCraft, and these are all the ideas for things that we want to do. These are the freelancers we have available to us. Yes. There's the time we have available to make these products, and what do we want to do? So you'll be seeing announcements on stuff as it nears completion, because I doubt we'll actually be talking about books in midstream very much anymore. So. Yes. Right. Well, obviously, these were drop shipped directly from the printer. Oh, yeah. Okay. And if, the question was, when can we expect to see the book in stores? FantasyCraft, that is. And it's obviously shipped directly from the printers here. It's literally fresh off the press. What that means is Mongoose's U.S. facilities have the book in stock. However, it still has to be sold from Mongoose into distribution. It has to be sold from distribution into the retailers before it actually, and shipped twice before it actually winds up going to directly to the fans. So it takes a while. We're not 100% certain. Mongoose is still working on that.
We're 100% certain they're working on it. We're not 100% certain.
We are not 100% certain what the date is. We do know it's coming.
Right.
Obviously.
Yes.
You won't see it in August. You may see it in September. I will not be surprised if it winds up releasing in October. But again, we don't know. So watch our website and we'll let you know.